Hello, and welcome to another update video on Bitcoin. So if you watched the previous video, then you know that we are likely on our way towards the early July low in the region around 107 to 108k. The 113.8k level was kind of the warning level. I have adjusted it slightly. Yeah, I have adjusted it slightly now to 113k because I've made some minor adjustments here on the chart just to give it a little bit more room. But honestly, I think there is absolutely zero evidence for a low. I mean, technically, it could form at any point. So I still want to give it a little bit more room all the way down to 113k because I've made, as I said, some minor adjustments to the chart that involve here the price top on the 14th of July, which in my view actually ended as a three-wave move. So it's possible to call that a high B wave, but it is an absolute mess, this structure. So from that point of view, I think, I don't have high hopes that we find support here. The price had a couple of possibilities to form an upside reversal. Okay, and it hasn't capitalized on those opportunities. So if the 113k level breaks, well, then I think we are probably not in the white scenario any longer. We are likely dealing with a diagonal pattern, which I presented to you and explained to you in yesterday's video. I mean, we talked about it before, right? But now it becomes really like, it comes into focus. It becomes at least much more likely. By the way, not only on the Bitcoin chart, I see that development on various charts right now where potential impulses might just either have been, there have been a lot of diagonals. So diagonals or impulses have become either high B wave tops or we're morphing back into a diagonal structure. But again, most charts are still holding support. I'm just saying that that is a potential development that's underway. It's a classic late Friday sell-off. I mean, that does happen. I would assume that early next week we get a bounce. I see a similar development on the in the stock market, S&P 500, and so on. But obviously, we need some kind of evidence for a low. The last two opportunities where the price had a chance to turn around. One was earlier today. There was a micro 1-2 setup that was potentially developing. That was not used. And also the 1-2 setup here that developed from the 25th of July low wasn't used. Now, the one from the 25th of July low, that was a decent one, but it still broke. The one from today was anyway too small to be in any way reliable. But so I still keep the door open for higher prices. I mean, I still assume we are in a bullish market, but I already mentioned yesterday, once we break below 113.8k, we have the first warning in place that a major price top has formed. As I said, I've made the decision to give it a little bit more room in my analysis, but we also have to say we've just broken out of the price channel to the downside. That being said, it's not yet a decisive break. And don't make the mistake to think that just if we break support or we break below a level, it's necessarily going to collapse. Sometimes there is, and we have it many times in the market, crypto is known for that. You get a very rapid flush and then a quick recovery, and that flush is deeper than many expect, and it just throws a lot of people out of the market, which means that people then get very bearish or they panic sell once sentiment is at extremes, right? And then it still recovers. The price dipped briefly below support, but it was not a decisive break. So that is why in crypto it can make sense to have rather smaller positions and wider stop losses, right? Instead of having larger positions and tight stop losses. But that ultimately depends on your own trading plan and so on, and strategy and skill level and everything. But yeah, we have we're still in that local downtrend. So we now need to see where the market can find support. The next support level I can offer here is at 113k, and we'll see how the market reacts to that. But for now, it seems like that classic Friday sell-off that needs to slow down first. I assume over the weekend we see a bit of consolidation, and maybe early next week a larger bounce, but the situation is very dynamic. As you can see, the pullback is certainly deeper than initially expected. But as always, and that's, one of the positive things with Elliott Wave, we do have a plan B. We know which let's say alternative structure will kind of come into play, where probabilities start to shift, which is basically where we are now, right? sort of that area here between 113k and 113.8k. If the lower we go, the more probable it is that we're dealing with a diagonal structure and not an impulse. In addition to that, it becomes more probable that a major price top has already formed, but that is not yet my preferred interpretation. So I'll keep you updated about that. I wish you a great weekend. I hope you liked the update. If you did, please hit the like button, leave a comment, and subscribe. And if you really like the content, then please check out the channel membership. I also invite you to check out our X channel. Feel free to join us here for additional updates, some fun stuff, Elliott Wave updates, Elliott Wave, education, and much more. Feel free to check it out. So I'll leave a link to our X channel in the description. Thanks so much. Bye-bye.